Hey, what's up guys? And if you're watching this, there's a really good chance you probably joined some type of multifamily syndication group and you're still working your full-time job and you're really struggling to figure out how you can actually go full-time. You're probably spread very thin trying to figure out how to do all of it. And in this video, if you stick around to the end, what I'm going to share with you is the exact strategies I learned and implemented along the way as I went from being a full-time W-2 employee, trying to manage corporate life, trying to balance my family, getting into deals, and eventually going full-time as a multifamily investor. But real quick, before we get started, if you don't know me, my name is Steven. I am a full-time multifamily investor, business coach, entrepreneur, and a webinar host. But it wasn't always like that. See, for me, my journey started when my wife and I were working, having good jobs, making good money, and we were looking for a place to put that money and not have all of it be in the stock market. So what we did is we went and we bought a fixer-upper flipper house, and the project took much longer than we were expecting. We had to move in with my in-laws. My wife was pregnant with my daughter. My son was 2.5 going on 3. The project still continued to drag on. We moved into this house. It was still being worked on. After we moved in, we were having problems as hunting down the contractors and getting the work done. And that in and of itself really sucked. Then my daughter was born and I was even busier. And so I was trying to go, full time as a multifamily investor, up at 5 a.m., analyzing deals, trying to underwrite, changing diapers, going to work, working all day, coming home and doing it all over again. And I got super burnt out. And so I had to actually end up starting as a passive investor. Fast forward a little while, once I started to sleep, when my kid would sleep through the night, I started going after this again, trying to get into my first deal. And at one point I was extremely burnt out and I sent an email to my mentor and I was like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. And I got a reply back that said, are you sure? And so that's when I had to make the decision and I decided I'm doing it. I'm going all in. And about maybe a year later or so, I got my first deal. It was a $28 million deal. But there's some things I didn't do is I didn't get a lot of equity in the deal. And what I learned is that I still had a full-time W-2 job, but I had also gotten myself a full-time job as an apartment owner, doing asset management. I had really kind of focused on underwriting. I didn't really have a lot of equity in the deal. I neglected to raise capital. So then what I had to do is I had to learn how to go build systems and processes and get a team to start working with and really, build all my processes so that I could go full time. So stick around to the end and I'm going to show you the most important pieces that you should be focusing on to go full time as a multifamily investor. All right. So what I want to talk to you about is these programs that you join and they teach you a lot. But what I found is that there's some really big gaps and these gaps will what make it really hard for you to actually go full time as a multifamily investor. Now, there's people who have done it. There's people who have figured it out. The people I have found who are most successful are people who either A, have already been running a business, or B, have a lot of money, or a combination of both. And the people that are running a business, they know how to start and run a business. And what happens is you have to come into the multifamily space and you're buying and selling businesses, but nobody teaches you how to start and run a business. So these are processes that I've learned along the way. And some of them are relatively quick and easy to implement, and some of them take a lot longer. So I want to review some of these with you. And the first one I want to talk about here is your mindset and goals. So when you join these programs, a lot of them will focus on mostly just underwriting, analyzing some properties, finding some deals. And they talk to you a little bit about your mindset and goal. What they don't tell you is you're going to get your ass kicked a whole lot, especially over the last couple of years, and that you need to have, long-term vision. You need to, be able to be in this for a very long time. But where I find to have the first big gap is defining your value. And if you're here and you've got 0 to 3 deals, you've joined one of these syndication groups and you're still working your W-2, you don't really know what your value is. And what happens to a lot of people, they get spread thin. They're trying to do just way too many things and they're chasing after all these shiny objects. But one of the things you can do very quickly and easily is clearly define your value and just go after that one thing. That's a fantastic way to find that balance is walk into a room, go to networking when you're looking for those partners and clearly know your value. So One of the first things I like to do is help people clearly define their value and the role that they're going to focus on and bring to the table. And what happens is when you know how to clearly define your value, it then becomes very, very, very clear who the partners are that you need. The other thing that happens is when you're looking for partners, when you clearly know your role and how to communicate that, it makes it much easier to find partners, because rather than walking up to someone and saying, oh, I am in multifamily and I'm just, I'm happy to do anything. I'll do anything. That doesn't really help somebody out. But when you know your specific role, it's a game changer when you have those conversations. Another thing that they don't teach you in these programs is really anything about high performance routine. And this is something I learned along the way through coaching that I got outside of these multifamily programs. And this is something I definitely like to help people out with, because when you're trying to, be a full-time parent, be a, full-time W-2 employee, and be a full-time multifamily syndicator, it becomes very tough. And if you know how to clearly structure your day, your work day, your life, your multifamily, all that then becomes very balanced. And the other thing I'll tell you is, once you have this level of clarity and you're doing these things, you have a higher level of energy, you begin to get more things done, you're able to, move things forward. It also begins to open up the pathway to hire somebody to start helping you out. Because the reality of it is, if you can do it and you can get like a VA to start doing some of those things for you while you're working, you can actually accelerate your timeline in moving to a full-time investor and leaving your W-2. But the last two here these are the biggest gaps that I've seen. And this is what I really like to work with people on, because when you're looking for deals, a lot of people, they naturally gravitate towards underwriting. And they'll teach you how to underwrite these, but not in the most efficient manner. And it's very easy to get caught up. You're just taking every deal and you're underwriting it all the way. And where do you stop and put the pencil down and move on to the next deal? So what I like to do is focus and help people on what I call the 4 phases of underwriting, which makes it so you can underwrite deals much faster. And once again, if you're open to having a virtual assistant, you can teach them a lot of these things to do at the beginning to actually get the underwriting started for you. And if something looks like it makes more sense, then you can jump in and look at it. And then the last one here, and this is where a lot of people really, really struggle, is, creating a system for raising capital. And I just haven't seen this in any of the programs. I've talked to a lot of people from a lot of different programs, and any of these multifamily programs, they might share some information, but your ability to raise capital is probably about the biggest thing you can do to move the needle in your ownership of any of these deals. And the more ownership you have, the more cash flow you're going to have. And when the deals go full cycle, the more returns you're going to get. And so a system for raising capital, this is something that anybody can do if they are taught how to do it. But it just like anything else, you have to make the time to do this. So over the next few slides, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the system that I have for underwriting deals, and I'm going to walk you through the system that I have for raising capital. And I think these two things alone will make life a lot easier for you and help you achieve, your goals as going full-time as a multifamily investor. Okay, so now what I want to talk to you about is how I like to teach people how to do their underwriting. Now, when you first start underwriting, you kind of have to go through the full deal, but once you have the basics, then there's a much more efficient way to go through underwriting. And because I've worked with people across the United States and I've seen multiple underwriting spreadsheets, I can tell you they're all a little bit different, but at the end of the day, they have the same outcome. But none of them teach you how to do underwriting in this way. And I don't know why, but this makes a whole lot of sense. There's 4 phases that I like to teach people of how to do this underwriting. And what I've done, I've broken each of these phases into a workbook, and there's basically a 200-point checklist, and you just start at the top and work your way down as you go through the checklist. And so you move from one phase to the next. And so I'm going to walk you through each of these phases. The first phase here is really, it's just copying information from the OM. And the idea here with these different phases is you come up with criteria to move from one phase to the next. Well, what is that criteria? And you come up with a logical test, if you will, of if my total returns are greater than X and my cash flow is greater than X, then it makes sense for me to move on to phase 2. And the way you need to look at that is you're going to think of it like a target. And phase 1, you're going to be way out here. Your total returns and cash flow is not going to be what you want, but is it kind of sort of looking like you might be able to make it work? And so each phase here, you're going to just try to tighten that circle until when you get into phase 4, you're basically saying, hey, I'm right here in the bullseye where I want to get. And if you do this, your underwriting can be a lot looser here, and you can go through this much faster. You can have, a checklist and just check. And anybody can go through this. And the idea is you copy information from the OM and the offering memorandum. You're not worried about looking through the delinquency report. You're not worried about looking at the T12. You're not worried about looking at the rent roll. Just that takes, time to do that. So if you can look at the OM where they've got some, market survey they've already done for you, then just knock it out that way. And you're going to get close. You're just trying to see, can you even get on the dartboard? If you can say, yep, my returns look like what I want and my cash flow looks like what I want, then it's time to move on to phase 2. Even this, you could easily train someone to help you out with phase 2. Now that you say, yep, the OM looks like, yeah, this might work, I want to take a look at it. Then you move on to the rent roll, the T12, a CoStar report, and a high-level market survey. Very specifically, those are the things that I include in my phase 2 of underwriting. Now, a lot of what I've done in phase 1, I'm going and I'm making updates because now I'm looking at the rent roll, T12, and CoStar report, so I can become much more accurate at that point. I go through my checklist. Now, my total returns, I want to be higher, but as long as it meets that, and my cash flow, I need it to be higher than in phase 1, but as long as it meets that, then I know that I'm good to move on to phase 3. Once I get into phase 3, and imagine being able to have a very quick and easy checklist you go through and you're like, check. Okay, yep, it meets my criteria. And then you're like, I'm going to phase 2, check. Meets my criteria, I'm going to phase 3. Or I went through these and it didn't meet my criteria. I'm not even going to go down this path. I'm not even going to pull vendor quotes. I'm not going to waste anybody else's time. This allows you to move on to the next deal that much faster. So now you've done this and you move into phase 3. And phase 3, for me, this is where it makes the most sense for me to get those detailed vendor quotes. This is where I'm going to do an actual market survey. And this is where if I get down to my total returns are looking much closer and my cash flow is looking much closer at this point, this is where I would get property management involved. I would not bring in property management here because if a property manager is doing their job right, they're going to show up, they're going to secret shop the property, they're going to do a market survey, and they're going to give you some underwriting back for you. They're going to give you their own version of underwriting. Can they implement the business plan? And they might even want to see your underwriting as well. At that point, if everything looks good, you've gone through these phases, you've gone through the rent roll, T12, CoStar, you've done your market surveys, you've got vendor quotes, then you got your property management buy-in and agreement. Then and only then do I think it makes sense to do a property tour and consider submitting an LOI. But if every deal you get, you're just trying to go through all of these steps and it's just you trying to do that, especially if you're not local, if you're not the boots on the ground, you're wasting time. Like that's just the reality of it. You're spending too much time trying to get here in every single deal where you can really just make a decision here or here or here. Like it doesn't make sense for me to go here. And this will drastically improve the amount of deals that you can get through. And like I said, if you're open to it, hiring a VA, this is something that can be taught because you can turn this whole thing into a checklist, which I've already created and put the whole thing into a checklist. This thing has saved me hours and hours and hours of work. So that's the system that I've built and put in place for underwriting, not including the tracking that I do where we keep it in a project management system if we ever need to refer back to it. The next thing I want to start talking about is the capital raising. And I've got a couple different slides here for capital raising, but the main thing that you need to really start understanding in capital raising is this concept of a marketing funnel. And they just don't teach this idea of a marketing funnel. And there's definitely a shortcut you can use to raise capital, but there's steps you have to take in this funnel where you create awareness, then interest, then you can get conversion and you get loyalty. But basically what happens here is the people that you already have a relationship with, these are the people that you can start reaching out to. These are the people that are aware of you. And there's a way you can structure your conversation where you can reach out to these people and you can say, hey, this is what I'm doing. I would like to share more information with you. Share that information with them. You give them a specific call to action here, and you move them through the funnel, share some information with them. Then you give them a CTA, a call to action, which is hop on a call with me. And then there's very specific things you can do when you're in this conversation, which converts them into someone who was actually going to invest with you. But you have to learn how to communicate with those individuals. Now, let's say you're like, this is all well and good, Steven. I can reach out to those people that I already know, but what about those people that I don't know? How am I going to get the people that I don't know to go through this marketing funnel? And the reason why I just really want to emphasize the marketing funnel is nobody ever explained this to me in any of the syndication programs I was in, and even some of the coaching I was in up until the most recent coaching program. It was just really understanding this concept of a marketing funnel and what is awareness. So the other way to think of awareness is, we'll use the example of social media, and that's posting on social media. And if you're posting on social media, that makes people aware of you. And once you have those posts, what are the things you can do to get people to move through this funnel? And there's definitely certain strategies here you can move, and you probably heard of lead magnets, webinars, and I'll use the example here. I like to use the example of webinar because a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to do a webinar and I'm going to raise capital. That's just not how it works, right? Even an educational case study webinar. Because if you just have a webinar, all you're really doing here is you're just warming people up that you maybe already know. But if you don't have like a large database of people to reach out to, just by the fact you're having a webinar doesn't mean anybody's going to show up, because awareness is getting people that don't know you to become aware of you. And like I said, there's either social media, going to networking events, getting up on other people's stages, but you've got to know the right things to say. So there's strategies here. You've got to take the time to learn some marketing so that you can get these people aware, and you just move them. You have to always give them a call to action to move them through. And this conversion, this is a one-on-one conversation that you have with them, and there is a script that you're going to want to follow to get those people to commit to saying, yes, I would love to invest with you. And the best way I can explain this is by going to this slide right here. And to get people to invest with you, you have to understand, it says the StoryBrand framework, but this is really the investor journey. And the investor journey is making somebody not only aware of you, but you have to be able to reach out to them, identify with their problem, and then guide them to where you want to be. So I'm going to share with you this concept of the StoryBrand framework, and then explain how that would work as you're guiding people to invest with you. Because really, when you combine the idea of this marketing funnel and the StoryBrand framework, then all of a sudden the content ideas that you're going to be putting out on social media start to come together. The way you're going to start talking to people and engaging them is going to start to come together. The way you're going to have conversations with the people when you're on the phone call with them is going to start to come together. But you need to think of this as there's basically these two people. There is a character, and this person can be referred to as the hero, and then they meet a guide. And a good way to think about this is Luke Skywalker and Yoda. Yoda is the guide. Luke Skywalker, he's really the hero of the story. And why is this important? Because everybody is the hero, or they want to be the hero of their own story. What is it that people really want when it comes to investing. Why do people do this? It's because ultimately they want time freedom. That's what everybody wants. That's what people put money into retirement plans, because they want time freedom. They want the ability to retire with the money, all the money they want, so they can have the time freedom. They can live the life that they feel they deserve. So people don't really understand how to invest. And so that's why they put their money in the stock market. So you are the guide who is going to give them the alternative. So think of it this way: the character of this journey, the person you want to be a passive investor has a problem. They want more money faster in their retirement account. So you are the guide who's going to solve this problem for them. That's the give. I'm going to give you a plan. I'm going to show you how this works. I'm going to call you to action. That means invest in my deals, which is going to result in success. That means they're going to get their desired outcome, their retirement faster, and you're going to help them avoid failure. So let me just say this back to you again. How are you going to move someone through this character? You're going to identify with people of where their problem is. What are the things that keep them awake at night? I have not saved enough money for retirement. I want to make more money in retirement than I'm currently making in the stock market. I would love to invest in real estate, but I don't have the time. I know other people who invest in real estate, but I don't know how to get started. I've tried doing single family homes, but it's a lot of work. These are all of their problems. You are someone who can help raise capital because you know how to solve that problem. You can share with them what those returns are like. And that's what you're going to do. You're going to teach them how to get that financial independence by investing in your deals, which ultimately results in them making a whole lot more money than if they left their money in the stock market, and helps them avoid failure. Those concepts right there, I dive deep into that in my coaching, and I help give you strategies you can implement right away to start moving the needle and have those conversations to get people to understand why investing in apartments can, solve a lot of those problems for them in a very effective way, and it allows you to raise more capital. Because if you can underwrite deals faster and raise more capital for those deals, you become a very valuable partner. And you're not chasing after things that don't matter. You're not spinning your wheels trying to do things that's not getting anywhere. The things that you're doing, if you focus on those, you do them right, you can move a lot faster in the direction that you want to move. I have something really exciting I want to talk about, and I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this for 7 years now. I've been investing in apartments. And, one of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to give back. So what I want to do is I want to break down for you a new offer that I have. This is my coaching program. It's called Business Mastery for Investors. But I am going to tell you that this offer, it's not for everyone. I am talking to the people who they've joined a multifamily syndication program, and they're just really struggling because they're trying to balance their full-time job. They've got a successful corporate job, but they want to get out of that. And they're just really struggling to balance all of that. And they just need more direction than what they've been able to get out of their program. And I want to help them get into more details and not just take, years to try to do that. I want to shave as much time off as possible to help those people achieve those goals. So you probably realize by now that going full-time in multifamily, it's hard and it can be very lonely. You'll find a lot of people who are unfortunately kind of in it for themselves, and these groups come together and it's just this kind of disjointed group, but you want to be the one that can add a ton of value. But what if I could help you solve those problems? What if I could help you get really focused on the things you need to do, balance your time, be very efficient, build a high-performance routine, underwrite deals faster and smarter, and drastically increase your ability to raise capital, and show you how to go full-time? What would that do for you? And the answer is it would change everything for you. So what I've done is I've created this program, and I'll tell you, because I've been through a lot of programs, there's really only one way to do it right. And like I said, trust me, I've tried them all. This is not a do-it-yourself where, hey, here's a bunch of videos, figure it out. This is also not a done-for-you program. This is a done-with-you program. What we do in the coaching program is we set you up with some one-on-one coaching, and we're also going to set you up with some group coaching. And the reason why I love that is because the camaraderie that happens with a group of people and you're all learning together is really where I see some awesome synergies happen in the space. So first of all, you're going to get a 1 hour onboarding call with me, and we're going to map out everything in your business, where you're at right now, where you want to get, and we're going to tackle the bottlenecks of where you're at and really come up with that battle plan for you. And the next thing you're going to do is you're going to get access to the course. I'm going to show you exactly how to master each of those steps that I was showing you at the beginning of the presentation. Once you get onboarded into our system, you'll get access to the outline of everything and what the group coaching looks like and how it's going to help you get from where you're at to where you want to be. You're going to get access to our weekly group coaching calls, and you're going to get access to community where we have other multifamily investors just like you that are scaling their businesses, and you can connect with them and ask questions and join our live calls. And you're also going to get access to one-on-one coaching from us to help you get unstuck and build out your business so that you can go full-time as a multifamily investor. So guys, if this training helped you at all, if you're trying to balance your W-2, you're a corporate professional, and you got into one of these multifamily investing programs and you're just really struggling to balance it all, hopefully this video training helped you and it gave you the roadmap that you need and the things that you need to focus on. And you could probably even take this and start implementing some of these things on your own. Or some of you might want to join my program, and the reason why you'd want to do that is because you want help implementing these things so you can actually fast track your goal into quitting your W-2 job and going full-time as a multifamily investor. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to click the link down below, and I want you to book in a call with me. You're going to talk to either me or someone from my team. I'm going to have you answer a few questions before you hop on the call, and that way we're going to make sure that we're aligned. We can get you the right program that's going to get you where you need to be in your multifamily journey. So if you join this program, you're going to have my coaching on how to implement these exact processes to help you get where you want to be. And if you're like, hey Steven, I've already seen enough of your content and I'm ready to do this because I'm sick of joining other programs, watching YouTube videos, just getting frustrated trying to do this all on my own. And if that's you, you're an action taker and you're ready to just do this, then click the link below and get that one-on-one call booked. But I only want you to do this if you're serious, because there is a time commitment here. You have to be committed. I can show you everything, but if you don't take the action yourself, you're still not going to get the results you want. But look, worst case scenario, you're going to leave with a ton of value and a better idea of what you need to be working on. So go ahead and book in that call, and I look forward to seeing you in our one-on-one call.